Hi, welcome or welcome back to Books and Bocadillos. My name is Maria Andrea and I'm here for a have dinner with me tag video. And I figured that this would be a really good way to one, have dinner, and two, do the off the shelf tag. So this tag is about all things outside of my reading life, and I haven't been filming in a while because of the reading life and because it's been a bit of a rough season with the reading life, which I hope to maybe get into a little bit more of that in another video. I'd actually filmed the video, haven't posted it yet because I still processing it all, but I thought maybe this might be like a low-key kind of fun way to get back in. If you're into watching someone have dinner, I've never done this before, but I figured I would give it a try and see how it works. And maybe we'll edit all the chewing noises out so you don't hear me chew. And let's get started. So, what I'm having for dinner this evening is leftovers. Yesterday I made a fettuccine alfredo, but with penne pasta instead of the fettuccine. And I it's a vegan fettuccine alfredo, and um, just sprinkling some crushed red pepper and some lemon on my vegetables. The vegetables that I'm eating are asparagus, mushrooms, and Brussels sprouts. And question number one is, when you're not filming or reading, what does a normal day in your life look like? Work, school, etc., whatever you feel comfortable sharing. So when I am not reading, which actually is most of my day, um, I I work. So I work full time. I started a new job in February, so I've been readjusting my schedule in the last couple of months. I've been on this job for 2.5 months, and I work from 8 to 5, and um, I go on walks with my husband. I go to yoga classes. What else do I do? I so basically exercise. I spend a lot of time in the kitchen, so I do a lot of cooking. I've been doing a lot of baking. Um, what else can I tell you I do? I have a nonprofit, so most of my free time goes to my nonprofit. And then just fun stuff. Other than reading, other hobbies are when I can. It's getting about that time to spend time in the garden. I haven't been able to do very much of that. It's been raining, but I've been really wanting to spend some more time in the garden. You've seen me on my hammock just relaxing, spending time with my family. I do have family. I have my mom. I have my brother, my sister-in-law, and a couple of nephews that are immediate family, and then have extended family that I might spend time with. I have friends that I might spend time with here and there. So all in all, that's like normal life. Um, question number two. What kind of work do you do? And does it change how you read or what you notice in stories? I am a social worker. So um, I guess I've been noticing. So in my current job, there are quite a few of us who like to read, and we exchange book recommendations. And guess what I'm noticing is that most of my book recommendations are nonfiction. So I guess I do read a lot of nonfiction. I've worked in a lot of areas of social services and social work. Um, Currently, I work with children and families and people with disabilities. So I recommended Disability Visibility the other day. Um, I I do enjoy reading a lot of things that are related to my work. I like reading a lot of nonfiction memoirs. I was telling my coworkers that I've been meaning to read A Face for Picasso. We're talking about just things that we encounter, life situations we encounter with our clients. And so I was talking about issues with disabilities and disfigurement and um, advocacy. So we were talking about that. I'm really passionate, speaking of advocacy, I'm really passionate about ecological social work. So I'm on a committee that um, looks into eco-social work, and that's something that really like drives me. So I do like reading a lot about like cli-fi. I'm actually about to start a project where I'm reading, like I'm gonna create a reading project where I just read um cli-fi and solar punk novels. I'm really excited to talk more about that, but I am planning, have a lineup of solar punk novels that I'm doing as a way to incorporate that into my work. Um, I like solar punk because it usually has a more hopeful um, angle to the issue of cli-fi, and I'm looking at ways to incorporate or draw inspiration from solar punk novels and how I advocate for the ecology, the environment, person, the communities that we represent and we serve. So yeah, I am really excited about that project. So yes, my studies, my profession does influence the things that I'm interested in reading, and um, I like poetry, and I like reading a lot of like resistance and social justice poetry. Um, so that goes along with what I like, and I like nature poetry too, nature writing. Um, I also like food writing because one of my hobbies, but it's not really a hobby, right? Because it's kind of my life. Like I cook and I bake and I enjoy it. So I like food writing because I enjoy cooking and baking. I mostly enjoy doing this for others, but I'm kind of in right now like um having some time to myself because my husband is on a work trip. And so I'm finding myself really going back to foods that I might like to eat that he might not enjoy as much. I love fettuccine alfredo. It reminds me of when I was in my 20s and I would make fettuccine alfredo all the time. It was like my go-to dinner. Um, Next question. Are you a morning person or a night owl? I am a night owl for sure. It's really difficult because I would like to be a morning person. I would like to be able to wake up early and watch the sunrise and go on morning walks, and I've tried to do morning yoga, but I end up really, really tired and sleepy afterwards. And um, I always lament that if I was a morning person, I think that would that's kind of what I always wanted to be. But like my husband tells me, it's just not who I am. I tend to be more of a night owl, and um, sometimes you just have to accept the way you are and not try to change yourself. Although I have tried to change that about myself a lot of times because I'm married to someone who is a morning person, so it would be fun to just be around in the mornings, but it's also good because then I feel like we also get our own personal times. So I feel like he gets his quiet time in the mornings when he's alone, and I get my quiet time in the evenings when he's gone to sleep and I'm being a night owl. So I guess it works out. Um, Next, do you recharge by being alone or by talking to people? I definitely recharge by talking to people. For example, I went to an event this weekend, this Friday, um, and it was a professional event, and I was around a lot of people. I was around social work students and social work faculty and retired social workers, and there weren't as many of us that are current like professionals in the field currently, and I can understand why, because we're drained and we're burnt out, and our caseloads are so taxing for the most part in most fields. I feel like in my current position, I'm in a good sweet spot where I'm not feeling as overwhelmed as I had been just a few months ago. But um, I can understand why it's harder for social workers to get away. But being around so many, especially like the young students, their passion, they remind me of why I became a social worker, and it just energizes you. It energizes me so much to be around all these people that are just so passionate and driven to make the world a better place and do our parts, our small parts in a lot of ways. Sometimes our work feels like it's very small, especially when you work in micro level social worker, when you're working on the field like with individuals and families, and it feels like you're just making a difference, maybe sometimes even just a tiny difference in a person's life in just a very small way. And it's step away and see the big picture and see how there's all these little ripples of change happening. It really does motivate me and it re-energizes me. So I came back feeling very like energized, excited to do what's my work to do in the world. So I definitely feel energized when I'm around people, and I like that. Next, what drains you more, too much socializing or too much isolation? Um, what drains me more? I would say probably too much socializing, because I don't think that being alone is draining. I think that being in constant social settings without any downtime, without any time to recharge, is draining for me. Like I do need to have moments where I'm reflecting, I'm alone, I'm recharging, I'm being comfortable in solitude and recharging. I do need to get back out and be around people, but um I think if I keep up a pace of like, for me, if I'm always socializing, if I'm always around people and I don't have any alone time, then that can feel very draining. So yeah, too much socializing can be draining. I don't think too much isolation can be draining, at least not for me. Mm. I'm reading the questions off my phone. Next question. What's something that you enjoy that has nothing to do with reading? I've talked about this already. I have a nonprofit and we do arts and crafts, and so having that time for crafting and doing art projects is really recharging and really fun. Spending time in the garden, maybe like bringing in a new plant. I've been meaning to add a new plant to my Miss Moose garden that I created as a memory to my dog who passed away last year. It's been a year now, and we remembered her 1 year anniversary in March, at the end of March. And I've been meaning to stop into the nursery to get a new plant for her garden. I recently was given another plant by a friend, and I've been meaning to plant that. And then my neighbor gave me a new aloe plant, and I'm getting ready to plant that too. So I have a few plants that I need to get out to plant, but it's been really, really rainy these last few days, and I'm not complaining because we've had a severe drought, and the rain is very much needed. So yeah, like gardening, arts and crafts with kids, with other people, like just being a part of my community, feeling like I'm a part of something, all of that is just really um, enjoyable to me. And it's how I spend my time for the most part. Do you like planning things ahead of time or figuring things out as you go? Okay, I had a pepper go down the wrong pipe, so I am a bit throat scratchy now. Do I like planning things ahead of time or figuring things out as I go? I mean, it depends on the thing. And there's instances in which planning is good, and there's times to be spontaneous. So on a day off, I don't want any plans. On a day off, I just want to take the day as it comes, enjoy it, like be in the moment, excuse me, and not have it all be planned out. But if if I'm going to travel, usually like I have a list of things that I would like to do on my travel. So for example, I went to Austin and I was like, well, what are the must do's in Austin? Like where do I want to eat? So I had a list of restaurants that I, wanted to try, and I knew I wasn't gonna make it to all of them, but I had my list of like, okay, these would be the restaurants I'd prioritize going to. um, these are the places I want to go. So yeah, I like some structure, like maybe like low key planning. I'm not the kind of person that will go on a trip and have every hour planned out. Like I just cannot do that. I feel like sometimes you just need to be in the moment and be ready for just whatever might come your way. So I might usually have like a low key plan of like kind of like a skeleton plan of it'd be nice to hit these things. Um in a week maybe I have a list of things that like this week these are the things that I would like to accomplish, and have like a couple of goals for the week, maybe a couple of things a day that I want to focus on. So that would be kind of like just like a an outline of like a plan. I'm sounding like a certain somebody with concepts of a plan, but that's kind of how I go um with this question. I think that when it comes to more like like work events or event planning for like a nonprofit or other like community events, or um like with the committee, I see that it's really important to have an agenda and have a clear outline and have more planned things. But most of my like just general like day-to-day life stuff, I just maybe have like an outline of things that I want to accomplish and then let life happen. And then 8, do you like working alone or alongside others? I think I like working alone. I do like working with others, but I think sometimes I just like my independence and I like to be able to work on something before I go and contribute to the group. So I think you could see that if you ever done a buddy read with me. I think I tend to be like a I read independently, like I'll do my thing and then I'll join the group discussion when I'm ready. Um, Sometimes I think that's just a way for me to clear my head, really like connect with the work or with the reading or whatever I'm doing, and then join the group. I do like being around people. I do like like collaborating, but sometimes I feel like I just need to get a handle on things for myself before I can be a part of something, like share my thoughts. Sometimes it takes me time to process my experience for whatever it is that I'm doing, like whether it's a task or what I'm reading or what I'm writing or what I'm thinking about. Sometimes it just needs to incubate for a little bit before I feel comfortable like showing up and sharing opinions. Um, I had a friend tell me today that she notices that I pause a lot. That I have moments of like where I just take pause, and I feel like that's just kind of how I operate. I never really noticed that about myself until she mentioned it, but I think she's right that I do tend to have this rhythm of like go 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 and pause, or like if something gets sent my way, I'm not really quick to react to it. I take time to think about it before I have a reaction, like a public or external reaction. I tend to kind of let it wash over me, and I tend to do some reflection before I take a response. 9. Are you more sentimental or practical? Mm, what do you think? Go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know if you think I'm more sentimental or practical. I've been surprised by my friends' responses to this. I've watched several of my booktube friends do this tag, and I people that I think are practical say they're sentimental, and it has been like surprising that I feel like they're very practical people, but they identify more, or they, disclose that they are sentimental at heart. Um, I think I think it can be both depending on the situation, but I guess okay, let me pick one. Um, I think I'm practical. I think I used to be sentimental when I was younger, but I also think that my life experiences have made me more practical. Um, when when I was 6 years old, we immigrated to the United States, and I lost a lot of my belongings, the things that I treasured as a child. Um, and so it took it, I remember it being kind of like sad to have lost all of my things, all of my belongings, all of my clothes, my toys, my treasures, my home, my family. Like that was a big loss. I remember being sad about it. And I think that over time, just reckoning with the losses, reckoning with um like what matters, sometimes it I think it's made me more practical, especially um spending a lot of time working in hospice. has made me more practical in the way I think about things. So I think less about sentimental things and more about like how is this like I've been I always think like I need to do X, Y, or Z because if I die tomorrow, I need to figure this out. Like, I think about, and people say that that's very morbid, but I've always had this, I think because of my life experiences, I've always had this need to be prepared for death and to be very clear about my end of life um and I know that you never know, but I think that just life experiences, losses from being a very young child, and then my work with grief and end of life has made me more practical than sentimental. I started planning my funeral when I was 18, just because I was thinking so much about the practical things of like, what if this happens and now I'm an adult? And I want to be cremated. And, how does this work? So, like, all of these things I've, I've thought about from a very young age. Not morbid, not because there's anything going on, just because I think about things like that. Um, what kind of pace do you prefer in life? Busy, steady, or slow? Um, I think steady. Although I think I read somewhere, I can't remember if it was somewhere like some if it was an Enneagram thing or an astrology thing or personality thing. I can't remember where I read, but somewhere kind of like a personality test or something said that my spirit animal was a sloth. And I can see why, because I do like taking my time. I do like being thoughtful. I like being careful. I sometimes I do see like the value of silence and quiet and slow, and I do take a lot of pauses. Sometimes if you don't hear me or see me on this platform, it's probably because I'm going through a thing and I need to process it before I can show up in the world. And so I think that I do come off as kind of slow and moving and reacting. Um, but I feel like I don't I like it when things are steady. Like I like it when there's like a natural rhythm where maybe you have a period of like upbeat, like you're getting stuff done, and then maybe you have a pause, like a space to recharge, and then you know build up your energy again to like pick up your pace. So I think steady would be my preference, but my spirit animal, according to whatever personality thing, said that my spirit animal is a sloth. So maybe my body, my brain does better with slow. What's a simple task you strangely enjoy doing? Simple task. Um, is organizing your bookshelf simple? I enjoy organizing my bookshelf. Um, I enjoy trying to look around the house, see what I enjoy. I enjoy organizing my pantry. I don't do it as often as I should or as often as I would like, but when I do it, I enjoy it. I do like cleaning out closets. I don't get to do that often. I remember as a kid, that was my favorite chore. And my mom loved it when I like usually in the summer I would take a weekend and just like bring everything out of the closet and then reorganize it. And then I remember my mom was always like excited when I got it in me to clean out closets. And I did enjoy it. So that's kind of a simple thing that I don't do as often as I would like, but when I do enjoy it. Are you naturally early, on time, or late? Depends on who you ask. If you ask, um, I think if you ask anybody who knows me in a professional capacity, they would probably say early or on time. If you ask my husband, he would say I'm always late. I do like being fashionably late. I do think there's such a thing as fashionably late. Um, and he's very much of the kind of person who likes to be early. He's like military, ex-military, and he likes being on time to things. Um, so like by on time, he has to be somewhere like 10 to 15 minutes early. That was really difficult in the beginning. It took him a little bit to get used to me not being on the same page um, with regards to the clock. But when it really matters, like when it is something that I have to do for work or a professional thing, things with the nonprofit, I do try to be early and I do try to be cautious and leave enough time to get things done. Um, so it just depends. But naturally, I'm a late person. What motivates you more, curiosity or responsibility? Well, I think curiosity is more motivating. I think responsibility drives me. So I'm not really motivated by obligation. I am, I'm not really motivated by obligation. I'm motivated by curiosity, but oftentimes I'm driven to complete things or to be proactive about things based on my responsibility to the task, to the job, to the person. So, yeah, motivated more by curiosity, but really like executing oftentimes more by responsibility. What do you tend to overthink? What helps you feel grounded? There's that there's that Maya Angelou quote that says, people will forget, more or less, I'm not being really correct here with the way that the quote goes, but it says something like, People will forget what you did, people will forget what you said, but people will not forget how you made them feel. People will remember how you made them feel. Yeah, so they might not remember what you said or what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. And I think, excuse me, the thing that I overthink the most is um, how I make people feel. So sometimes I overthink about like, why did I say that? Or should I have said that? Or why didn't I do this? Why did I do that? Um, Not because of anything other than how that person felt in that moment or how my actions made somebody feel or affected somebody. So I overthink about other people and how they feel. What helps me feel grounded? Um, a lot of um, body work, like body, like being feeling embodied, feeling connected to myself, my physical self, but also feeling connected to the earth. So like things like yoga make me feel grounded because I'm focused on my breathing, I'm focused on the moment, staying in a frame of mind, and I'm being flexible, trying to anyway. Um, Walking makes me feel grounded. Gardening, spending time in nature, laying in my hammock, just like listening to the birds and just feeling like watching the clouds, watching the trees sway, bird watching, um, the ocean, like all of those things make me feel grounded. I like at the beginning of the year, like going for a polar bear dip in the Gulf, and that's really fun, and that makes me feel grounded, and it makes me feel tingly and cold, and I love that. Cryotherapy is also something I really enjoy for grounding. What's next question? What's something you always notice when entering a room? This is a hard one. Mm, that lemon. Needed more lemon. The smell. I think that's the first thing I notice when entering a room. Usually might notice a smell. I'm thinking about all the home visits I've ever done, and sometimes it's memorable as the warmth of the home, like the warmth of a place. The warmth of a place usually conveyed by the lighting and the smell and the kind of flooring. Um, Sometimes I think like tile makes a room feel cold, like wood floors or other kinds of floors make it feel warmer. But I just feel like when I see like a shiny tile floor, I feel like I one usually it makes the room brighter, but it also makes it colder. So temperature is also mood and temperature are things that I notice. Like if things are light and airy or things are like dark and um, enclosed, like that's like the mood of the room. Um, So yeah, I think the the feel of the room is usually it's like smell and ventilation and the flooring, um, the coldness, whether it's cold or the temperature, um, but also like not just the physical temperature, but just like the temperature of like the mood. Um, those are things that I notice. 16. What kind of humor do you naturally use? This is funny. It's funny because my family would say that I am not funny. And I don't think I'm not a comedian. Like I'm not somebody that has the right timing to a joke or the right punchline or anything like that. Like my spouse is really funny. I'm not funny. Not like that. But my friends, like my best friends, my spouse, they would say I'm funny. I was just talking to my husband earlier today on the phone and he was I said something and he was like, "You're so funny." And I'm like, people say that. People say I'm funny. But usually when I'm funniest is when I'm kind of like stoic or when I'm like I have this kind of maybe a little bit of sarcasm. And so not everybody can read that. I'm kind of like a dry humor person. So I might not be like a punchy, like, haha, like jokester or like really like comedian in a group. But I think with people that I'm most like comfortable with, like my besties, my husband, they've seen me. I think that like they can read my facial expressions or they can hear the inflections in my voice and sometimes the way I say things. Um, maybe kind of like Chandler and Friends. Um, or like Phoebe. I think I have kind of like a Phoebe sense of humor too, like where something sometimes when I say things, they're just maybe a little zany, or maybe I say things and it's just kind of like a personality thing more than it's a funny joke. And if you know me and you know my inflections in my voice, know how to read my expressions, then you can tell when I'm being funny and facetious or when I'm being funny and just like matter of fact, like sarcastic. So I think that yeah, I sign up for wouldn't sign up for like a comedy like stand-up comedy thing or anything like that. Like that wouldn't be my talent in a talent show. But I think that in just everyday life, just everyday the little moments in life, um, there's a sprinkle of like humor, very low key and very like matter of fact, um, which not everybody gets, but it's really cool when the people I'm closest to um, feel like they see it and they see me and they're like, "Yeah, you're funny." Hmm. But again, not everybody sees that. Um, do you usually multitask or single task? Multitask. I'm trying to record a video, trying to like read notes off of Melinda's video description box, and trying to have dinner. And I'm doing more talking than eating. My food has gotten lukewarm. Hmm, it's okay. Almost done. What's your default reaction to free time? Plan or relax? I already answered this question. I do not plan. I like my free time. I like a day off to be a day off. No planning. I like to relax. But even if I don't plan, even if like my day is to clean, I might just kind of like to clean my house, for example. I'm not gonna plan. I might plan like I'm gonna clean from this time to this time, and then I'm gonna make some time to just do whatever I want to do. And maybe that whatever I want to do, I'm not gonna plan it. I'm just gonna see how I feel. And if I get to have like a whole day off just to relax, I don't want. Sometimes I don't even want to tell people that I'm off. Um, or maybe I'll tell people like the day that I'm off or right before I'm off because otherwise I'll be tempted to make plans and then I don't like that because then I have plans and I think I have plans every day of my life because I work and because of my profession. I have a schedule and I have appointments and I have things to do. And I don't like to do that in my regular life. Like, it's also kind of like the thing with spreadsheets. When you work with spreadsheets all the time, the last thing you want to do when you go home is work on a spreadsheet. Even though it's bookish, I'm not really good at keeping up with things like that because I do that at work. So I want to try to live on my time off differently than I work. So no, no planning. Just take the day as it goes. 19. Are you comfortable with silence around other people? Hmm. I am. In my profession as a social worker, silence is oftentimes, when the therapy is actually happening, when there's silence, when the person has time to reflect and respond. So I'm very comfortable with silence. I think it's really cool because when my students, I teach social work. So my last social work student that I had for their field, um, the feedback that they gave me at the end of their term when they graduated was the one thing that they learned from me was to be comfortable with silence. And I was like, I'll take that because um, I do think silence is important in therapeutic relationship, in a helping relationship, in advocacy. Like you think mostly like you need to do, say, be loud. But there's so much power in silence, and there's so much power in the quiet um, actions. So yeah, I was happy to get that feedback from my student because I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm doing something right. If the one thing that I'm teaching is to be comfortable with silence, then that's good. I'll take it. I'm happy about that. Hello. I am still eating. No, it's actually it is good, but actually what I ended up deciding to do was to record a video while I ate. So so I've been recording a video and eating, and of course it's taking me longer to eat, right? Because I'm recording a video. Hello? All right. Okay. Good night. Love you. All right. Bye. Okay, that was my husband calling, and when I told him that I was what I was doing, um, he said, "You're funny." Anyway, so last question. Do you usually remember conversations or impressions? Again, the Maya Angelou quote says, people will forget what you said or did, but they won't forget how you made them feel. So I think I believe that. So I want to say that I usually remember impressions. I remember how people made me feel. I remember um I remember a person's warmth, like how kind and how, yeah, how they made me feel. Like that's really the most memorable thing. I'm also really good at remembering conversations, but that's again because of my work. Like when you're actively listening and you're doing all the stuff, you remember conversations, and I'm pretty good at remembering conversations, especially when I'm working, because that's kind of what my job is. Um, so probably both, but I guess maybe outside of work, generally speaking, when I'm not active listening, I'm probably going to remember impressions more than like the actual words that were said. And tag others. Okay, I I don't know who to tag. I don't know who to tag because I haven't been watching a lot of BookTube lately. I've been really behind, and I don't know who's done this. But if I didn't tag you and you are watching this and you want to do this tag, then do it. Um, and if I haven't caught up with you in a while and you've done this tag, and I'm so sorry, I am gonna get. I, things have to get better, right? Things have to get better. I just have to believe that things are gonna get less crazy, hopefully sooner rather than later, hopefully. But I will try to come back and let you know more of what's going on. I would like to do a rant, but I'm not going to in this video. And I will come back another day with some more bookish content and maybe a little rant. Hasta la próxima. Bye.